Hi and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and we have said on many occasions that the police are not your friends. Indeed, the video I made immediately prior to this showed a police officer in the Met who'd been convicted and allowed to walk free from court for possession of and creation of the making of images of very young people. So we know that they are crooks, criminals, corrupt, and then they're lazy and they're stupid and they're ignorant. They work against the people of this country. The Metropolitan Police is so bad, it's not only in special measures, but its previous chief constable was fired. Well, the new chief constable, Sir Mark Rowley, has taken over, and he cannot believe how bad the Met is. To such a point is that he cannot guarantee that his officers don't have criminal convictions. Is this what we've come to expect of our police, where even the senior officers cannot believe how bad it is? Let's look at this report and see what the hell is going on. But remember, before I do, the police are not your friends. Right, now this is actually a terrible indictment of modern policing. But anyway, look, the Met won't reveal how many of their officers have criminal convictions. The answer should be 0. As its chief admits, there could be another dangerous officer in the ranks like Wayne Couzens. And it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. A report revealed hundreds of Met officers were getting away with misconduct. The force would not disclose the number of officers and staff convicted of a crime, which should be 0. The moment you commit a crime as a policeman or a police staff member, you lose your job. Now, we're not talking stupid things. You're not talking doing 35 in a 30 zone. Yeah, minor. But we're talking anything that's of a trust issue or anything of an S issue, anything serious, you go. That's it, you go. You cannot be asked to stand in court and give evidence where you are guilty of the same crime. And I think if you were in court and you're a policeman, I think every single solicitor, every defence solicitor, must have the right to ask the cop who's giving evidence about his own convictions. And if that cop has ever had a conviction, he must be made to say he's got it, or it's potentially contempt of court. And the moment he admits he has a criminal record, you can say, well, that's all that evidence is out the window then. Fruit of the poisoned tree, isn't it? How can you believe the word of a convicted criminal? Anyway, Sir Mark Rowley acknowledged the force is riddled with hundreds of officers behaving disgracefully and undermining our integrity. And that's rather odd, because I was unaware that the police had any integrity. He wants powers to allow police chiefs to reopen misconduct cases against officers. I think he must have those powers. And I think every officer who ever has a misconduct case must be thoroughly investigated and, where appropriately, fired. Like I say, we're not after the minor stuff. We're not, the very small stuff that people do generally. But we're talking about issues of trust, issues of honesty, issues of, public safety, things like that. Anyway, Scotland Yard faced fury last night after refusing to say how many officers have criminal convictions for fear it could cause them harm. In what way would it possibly cause them harm? They're already, lower than the low. Nobody likes them. Nobody trusts them. Everybody knows exactly how corrupt and lazy and awful the police are. I can't see how admitting that there's all these officers in there that have committed a crime could make things worse. It would actually make things better if you said, no, we've got 420 officers or whatever the number is that have got these convictions, but we are going to fire them. That would put trust back into the police. It's a day after the Britain's biggest police force was shamed by a report revealing hundreds of officers were getting away with misconduct. It can now be revealed the force tried to hide the number of serving officers and staff with a criminal record, because of course it did. Now, to be fair, this isn't under Sir Mark Rowley. He's only been in the job 5 minutes. Anyway, when the Daily Mail submitted an inquiry under the Freedom of Information Act asking how many officers and staff have been convicted and for which crimes, officials refused and said it was personal information. No, if you are getting arrested by a policeman with a criminal record, you have the right to know that shit. These people are not private individuals when they're wearing a uniform paid for by the public. They are public. That should be public knowledge. And if they don't like it, they have an option. They can retire. They can leave the force of their own volition. They don't have to be fired. Let's give them a chance. Let's have an amnesty and say, you can leave and we'll keep it secret. It'll go off your record. We won't say another word, but you get out of the police now. Anyway, the force was the only one of 43 in the country to hide behind the data protection rules. It said it would be possible to use the specifics of the data to narrow down individuals. Well, yes, that's what we want. We want to narrow down the individuals, and we want to get the individuals out of the police. To disclose information which could cause harm to individuals cannot be allowed. By cause harm, do you mean fire so they're no longer paid by the taxpayer for being criminals? Is that what you're saying? That's harm now? We mustn't fire them because that would make us bad, even though they're criminals. Anyway, the decision raises further questions about criminality within the beleaguered force. He acknowledged the force is riddled with hundreds of officers behaving disgracefully and undermining our integrity that needed to be booted out. When asked whether another Cousins could be serving, Sir Mark told LBC Radio, I cannot look you in the eye and say that we haven't got officers who are treating women appallingly. Of course you have. Loads of them. In fact, all of them. They treat everybody appallingly. He says it's a bizarre, over-regulated system. You can sack people in certain circumstances and then they can be reimposed on the organisation. He says we've got people who have committed serious criminal offences who we've sacked and have been reimposed on the organisation. They wouldn't even pass vetting. He said he spoke out after a report by Baroness Casey revealed how anything goes in the force and allowed scores of officers to remain in the ranks despite being accused of appalling crimes. And that's what I've been saying. It's what this channel has been saying for a long, long time. The police forces of this country are filled with appalling people, with outright criminals, with dangerous people. People who would, I am pretty sure, are and M, and certainly are children. We know this as a fact. 15,000 girls, and the police were conniving in that one. And that's the level of policing, and I have been going on banging this drum for a long time. But now finally it's coming out that even senior policemen are fed up with it, where you're getting officials fed up with it. Investigations are now finally showing it up for what it is. In a hard-hitting letter to staff last night in the wake of the report, Sir Mark wrote, the shame of being an organisation that is weak in protecting its own integrity is hard to take in, and he warned officers that they would be sacked if they committed misconduct after a warning. They should be sacked instead of a warning. Referring to recent cases of officers being jailed for sharing grossly offensive messages, he wrote, to avoid any doubt, you are not fit to be in the Met if you do any of the following: legitimise SV in banter, suggest that colleagues are criminals because of their race or religion, display negative attitudes towards people because of their gender, race, religion, sexuality, disability, and use discriminatory and prejudicial language as a form of abuse, i.e. gay or disabled. Yesterday, the Centre of Women's Justice, a legal charity, condemned the force's secrecy around criminal behaviour. It's one of the occupations that got the highest incidence of DV against women. And that's because the police are the big I ams. They're not real men. A lot of them are tiny little men, but feel big because they've got that little uniform on them. They're like that. They're scum. Anyway, the charity revealed it had been contacted by more than 165 alleged victims of police-perpetrated abuse, some of whom claim to have suffered at the hands of Met officers. I guarantee that's true. One woman in a long-term relationship with a Met officer said she knew of 10 crime reports made against him in a 7-year period. He's had 10 crimes against him in a 7-year period, still got his job, still carrying one of them. What is wrong? She claimed the officer put the to her head in their home and abused her and her child, but no further police action was taken and she had to seek protection via the civil courts. These are the police that we've got in this country. I've been saying it for a long time. We don't have a police service fit for purpose. It needs to be completely gutted. Every single policeman needs a 100% security and economic check. We want to make sure that they're fit and proper people to be policemen and that they're not corrupt or in debt or anything like that. They have so many social problems, and then they go home and many of them give the old, the welcome hug to their wives. They are awful people. And now it's all coming out, and even their own bosses are seeing it. So hopefully, finally, at last, something may start happening. We may start getting a police force that we deserve. Not before time. I'm coming up now. It does make a change for me to do a police story that may have a happy ending, or at least a better ending than they usually are. If Sir Mark Rowley follows through with what he says he's going to do, then the Met may improve. We may lose those corrupt officers. We may lose those dangerous officers. You can't guarantee we'll lose the stupid and inept ones, but it's a start. They'll still be sitting on their fat ones, eating their donuts all day, but at least they won't be actively working against people. So we're halfway there. And I wish Sir Mark the very best of luck in his endeavours. But I think he'll need a lot more than luck. I think he's going to need a spine, and he's going to need to fire quite a few before it starts hitting home on what behaviour will be tolerated and is acceptable. Good start though, isn't it? Let's hope the other forces follow suit. Anyway, I shall end there. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, keep an eye on the police, and goodbye.